So how do you know if your training split, your training plan is the right one for you and your goal? I mean, how do you really know? I mean, was yours just taken? Did you just copy yours from your friend down the gym? Did you just download it off Google and YouTube? Like, if your plan was not written for you, for your goals, then it's most likely nowhere near optimal for the outcome that you want. Hello, wasted time and effort. Bye-bye, results. So, hi, my name is Andy Naylor. I am founder and CEO of Naylor Body Design and host of the Optimal Alpha podcast. Welcome back to the show, my guys. Now, so today we are going to start a training series. So this will be training series 1. About 5 episodes that we're going to delve into here. A little bit like the nutrition series. We're just going to go over the basics. There is nothing wrong with the basics. Why? Because most people can't get those right before they start going on to the more advanced stuff, and then they wonder why they're going around in circles. So today, this is training series number 1, and this is the episode 1 of that, and we are simply going to cover training splits. So the key topics today are going to be, well, what is a training split? Like, what does that mean? For some of you listening to this, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. For some of you, you might have no idea. So we're going to make sure we leave nobody behind. What is a training split? Okay, what options are there? And then how do I work out what is going to be the most optimal one for me? That's it. Let's delve in. Okay, so what is a training split? Essentially, it's as simple as a way of splitting up your training over a week. It's as simple as that. How am I going to split up my training? It's the whats, it's the wheres, it's the hows. And we would consider such things like, what body parts are we going to train? How often are we going to train them? What days are we going to put them on? In what order? Essentially, it is the overarching plan of your training. It is, if we zoom out as far as we possibly can on your training plan, it's the split, essentially, that is going to be the first macro part of what we're looking at, the major area of what we're looking at. Everything cascades down from the training split. And that's all it means. Split is just how we are going to split things up. That is all a training split is. There's nothing more complex about it than that. So once we understand that all we're thinking about here is, how we're going to break up the body and, what order we're going to put things. Ultimately, this is all based off the back of a goal, right? Like you wouldn't ever think about trying to devise a training split before working out what you want to achieve. But we're going to cover that in a second. So now we know what a split is. What ones are there? What options? There are endless. And interestingly, some people will marry themselves to certain splits because either they've watched their favorite IFBB pro do them and obviously they're amazing, or they've done one this way in the past and it's got them great results. People tend to marry themselves to certain ways and nearly rubbish the idea of certain styles of splits because it's just not advanced enough for them. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But to give you some ideas, there's what we would call a body part split, also known as a bro split, which I find quite funny. This is possibly where most people start. It's chest and triceps, back and biceps, shoulders and something, legs. It's that. That's where I started training. There is nothing wrong with it. It's just extremely specific. Problem being with this is, for the most part, you'll get to train a body part once per week, theoretically, right? If that's we could basically say we could split our body up into 4. Theoretically, 4 days a week training, 5 days a week training is probably about optimal for most people. So now we're going to get to train our chest once per week. 52 chances per year to make progress in that given muscle. Now, we could then move that forward. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But is it optimal for most people? Probably not. We could then move into what is super common now, which is things like push-pull legs. Super, super common. It's not so far from a bro split, but we are now putting things like shoulders and chest together in a combination of pushing. Now, push-pull legs is 3 days. There's a chance to get 2 of those in a week. Is it optimal with only a single rest day in the middle and then 2 push and pulls back to back at the end and the beginning of the week? No, I wouldn't say it's optimal. Is it possible? Yes. Depends on your recovery levels or recovery ability. But now, let's take chest again. I'm now training my chest twice per week. That's just doubled my opportunity for growth and progress just by simply changing a split. This is the power that a split has. So we've got bro splits, we've got push-pull legs. Let's say we could have push-pull legs upper-lower. We could have upper-lower splits. We could have full body splits. We could have circuits. We could have strength days. This list is endless and could be quite bewildering because there are so many options here. It's how on earth do you know which is the right one for you? And some of these in here, for example, full body splits. People tend to look at those and think, I'm more advanced than that. And this couldn't be further from the truth. If I gave somebody, let's say, 3 days of training and each day was full body, that's incredibly challenging to do it well. Incredibly challenging. But most people would look at a full body day of training and be like, well, I'm better than that. I'm more advanced than that, which is such an awful way of looking at training. Because if you could go in and train 3 days a week and hit your whole body 3 times, that would be and you did it well, and I mean really well, with high intensity and effort and focus and attention and drive, it'd be extremely hard to recover from, but you could make incredible progress. But people would look at a full body split and think that they're past that, and think that they need to do a bro split or push-pull legs, or people want to do the most exotic split that they can get their hands on because they think that's where the results are. That's absolute bullshit. The split, all we're trying to work out with the split is how can we be the most effective and efficient with the time that you've got? So that moves us on to our really the only other major section that we need to cover today, which is how do I work out what is the most optimal split for me? Because what's right for you is not right for me, is not right for someone else. Like it has to be individualized. And the very first thing that I consider when I'm working out a split for somebody is how many days can somebody train in a given week? Because that is going to determine pretty much every choice thereafter. If a client says to us, I can train as many days as you like, okay, cool, we would move on to the next question. But most people don't. Most people would say, okay, look, I've got a family, I'm busy with my business, etc., etc. I can do 4 days. I can do 3 days. Like they're the sort of common numbers. Okay, so now we have part of the playing field has been created. Okay, how many days can you train? How much time have you got per session? Okay, so I'm really time limited. I can't go past an hour. Some people might say, I could be in there 2 hours. I don't really care. Like again, now we know how much work can we put inside a singular session. We would also then need to ask, okay, but how well can someone recover and put all their effort in for an hour and a half, 2 hours? Okay, so more questions. Then, of course, what's the bloody goal? Like, here's a really good example. Push-pull legs isn't optimal for a lot of people. Why? Because most people don't have great legs. But push-pull legs is only 1/3 leg training and 2/3 upper body. So if someone has lagging legs, why on earth would they do push-pull legs? Doesn't make any sense when you think about it that way, because it's literally push-pull legs is putting massive emphasis, the majority of the emphasis, on the upper body. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it works quite well for me because my legs are just genetically ahead of my upper body. Push-pull legs would fit quite well for me because one, I can quite happily get away with training my legs less than my upper body, and I need a better upper body than I do legs. So push-pull legs fits me. Now, what happens if someone's the other way around and they are well-developed upper body, but they're lagging in legs? Push-pull legs is a really bad split for them. So what's the goal? Then we would look at, okay, so what are the lagging body parts, which is what I've just mentioned here, right? So for example, and this is not necessarily split, but there is a part to it. My arms are not a strong part for me. So in my split, I would make sure that my arms are catered for more often. In other words, on my leg days, I do biceps first. Now, we're nearly getting into exercise selection when we think about putting biceps before legs and something like that. But ultimately, my split would basically be whatever it is, and then biceps, legs. It's not just a leg day, it's biceps, legs. Because I need to put biceps in more often. And putting biceps before legs has absolutely no negative impact on the ability for me to go absolutely ham on my legs, right? So what are the lagging body parts? How do we create a split that will take care of that? What are my limitations? Do I have any injuries? Do I have any surgeries? Any of those things that need to be taken into consideration? Because if let's say we're doing a very upper body, like a push-pull legs, a very upper body focused split, and we're just coming back from shoulder surgery or a rotator cuff tear or something along those lines. Now, all of a sudden, putting emphasis in a certain area of the body is just going to cause us problems, recovery issues, maybe more potential injuries, right? So once we start to answer those questions, now everybody's going to be different. As I've gone through and they're just some of the considerations, and as I've gone through those, hopefully you've thought, oh, okay, well, this would be me here, and I need to focus on this, and I can train 5 days a week, and et cetera, et cetera. So then what would it actually look like? So some of those splits fall really well into certain amounts of time. And I've mentioned this already, but let's talk about, let's say we had 3 days to train. Now, if we had 3 days to train and we just did push-pull legs, that means we train every body part once per week. There's nothing wrong with that, but is it optimal? Miles from optimal. Unless you're incredibly advanced in terms of your ability to train and train very, very hard, which, let's be honest, we're not, right? We're not. Unless we're IFBB pros and genetically gifted, we're not. We're not in that 1%. I certainly aren't. So now we need to think more smartly along, okay, how can I get the most out of 3 days? This is where full body comes in particularly well. Because now we can train our full body. Each day doesn't need to look the same. Each day can be slightly different. Like if I was to set someone up a 3-day full body plan, on the beginning of one day, it would be legs, and then push and then pull, for example, right? In upper body, different parts of the upper body. And then the next day, it would be push first, then it would be pull first. So I would rotate what the first thing is that I do each time. So I'm fresh at the beginning of everyone. So nothing is overemphasized unless I want to overemphasize. Let's say I want to do 3 full bodies and I really need more legs. I would just do legs at the beginning of every full body. But it's probably the most efficient way to set up 3 days of training. Could you do upper, lower? You could, but it's just same as push, pull legs. You could do lower, upper, lower. So now you've got 3 days of training. You get to train your legs twice and your upper body once. Like, that's entirely possible. But ultimately, I would say for someone looking to do 3 days, full body split is the best way to go. Now let's move on to someone who can train 4 days. Suddenly the options are completely different. We could go upper, lower, upper, lower. I favor that a lot. We now train, it's completely balanced. If someone needs a completely balanced physique, they don't need anything more or less than anything else, which is a lot of people, let's be honest. Most people need systemic growth, to be honest. So now we've got upper, lower, upper, lower. It's balanced across the body, and everything gets trained twice in a week. So now everything's got 104 chances for progress across a year rather than 52. We could also do the bro split. So we could do the chest day, the back day, the shoulder day, the leg day. That would also work. We could also do a push, pull, legs, and then an upper or another lower. Okay, so you could do a full push day, a full pull day, a full leg day, and then someone who needs more upper body would go upper. That's now 3 uppers and 1 lower. Okay, or you could go push, pull, legs. Well, it would be push, legs, pull, legs, right? Which is nearly the same as upper, lower, upper, lower. Like, there's some definite crossover in some of these. 5 days, I mean, goodness me, that, like, now at this point, the options are endless. You could now go push, pull, legs, upper, lower. That's a great split. Personally, I really like that for 5 days of training. Push, pull, legs, and then everything upper again and everything lower again. That works well. You could also turn a bro split into 5 days. You would be, I don't know, a chest day, a back day, a shoulder day, a leg day, an arm day. That's pretty cool. A lot of people would really enjoy that. Is it optimal? Not really. Could it be really enjoyable? Yeah, like it could for sure. A lot of people like to do a lot of training on one body part at a time, hence bro splits. And this is also a slightly non-advanced way of looking at things, because let's say we give someone an upper day and they need to train their back, their chest, their shoulders on the same session. A lot of people struggle with that because they don't know how to connect with a muscle well enough, quick enough to be able to get something out of an exercise immediately. Some people seem to take 2 or 3 exercises to actually get connected with their muscle. That's really common. And that's why a lot of people don't favor upper lower splits or full body splits, because technically, and this is no beef to anybody, but technically their training is not at a high enough level to be able to extract everything out from that style of training, which is why people go, oh, I'm more advanced than that. No, actually, you're nowhere near as advanced as you think you are, because otherwise you would go and be able to do these and do them very well. You could also do a bro split over 5 days. Goodness knows how that would look any way you want. You could also do things like push, pull legs, and then 2 circuit days. So conditioning circuits, hip-based circuits, all these, you could add other things in. So ultimately, let's recap where we are. So a split is a really simple thing. It's a plan. It's a complete overview of what is my training over a week going to look like? What am I going to stick to? I mean, straight away, we're removing the obstacle of walking into a gym with fuck all idea what you're going to do, which is a lot of people, and just don't bother. If you want results and that's what you're walking into a gym with, I don't know. I don't think I've trained my back for a while. I think I'll do it. That's it. You're done. You've goosed. It's over. Forget it. You cannot go into a gym with that mentality and think you're going to get results. Like, best of luck with that. It isn't going to work. And going through the things that I've hopefully brought to your attention through this episode it isn't difficult. You won't fall on the right split immediately, but it's far better to go through okay, so what's the goal? Okay, so how many days can I train? Okay, I can do this. Right? What is the goal? Do I need to put more emphasis on upper or lower body? Okay, then if it's more upper body, what is it? Is it chest? Is it back? Is it all of it? Okay, what injuries have I got? What can I not do too much of? Like the split should literally present itself to you if you ask the right questions of yourself. Go back through this and listen to the things that I've highlighted. Ask those questions of yourself, and it will pretty much be like, well, okay, well, given the answer to all of this, then I really should just be training 4 days a week, and I need a very balanced physique. Okay, so upper, lower seems the most sensible option. Perfect. You've now got a split. It's an empty split because we haven't even thought about what exercises are going into it and the volume within them. We have a frequency because the frequency is we're training everything twice per. Essentially, we've got the option to train everything twice per week, but we've got nothing. We've now got an empty split, and that is exactly what we're gonna cover in the next episode, which will be exercise selection. So, my guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. By all means, reach out. Tag me on the socials. Show me the split that you're doing. Ask me if you think it's the right one. I'm happy to get into those conversations. But for now, thank you so much for dropping by. I appreciate it. As always, if you've liked the show, you found some value, hey, give us a 5-star review. We appreciate that. Maybe download the episode, maybe subscribe to the podcast. It helps us, and I would appreciate you. And for now, over and out. Go and have the best day.